Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. We're very delighted to welcome you to the Team SY Tech Startup Showcase. And I'm joined by my colleague, Samantha Deakin, and we're both regional leads on the project, and we'll be taking you through the Startup Showcase. Essentially, Team SY is a project to support the startup ecosystem across the region, and we'll be hearing a lot more about it during the next hour. So we're really delighted to be part of the Sheffield Digital Festival and its remote control team. And in particular, we've got an amazing lineup of startup speakers, and they've actually all taken their own control in terms of starting their own businesses and charting their own destinies. So, it's going to be really interesting to hear from them. Before we go further, I'm just going to give you some hints about the AirMeet platform. So there's various functions down the side. There's a chat box. There's a Q&A. That would be great if you put any questions in that. It's really helpful. And then you can see all of the attendees who are present. So please be active. We really want to give the startups an interesting afternoon, and please ask questions, and I'll put them to them during the day. Okay. Our next bit is to introduce our lovely colleagues, Darren Balcombe and Tracy Johnson. Darren is Deputy CEO at Capital Enterprise and lead on the TMSY project. And Tracy Johnson is Project Director at Barnsley Digital Campus, and Barnsley Council are a delivery partner on Team SY. So I'll hand over to Darren and Tracy to give their intros. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Kerry. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I will keep it short because there's lots of good things to follow. But I first of all just want to say how excited we are to be part of this year's Sheffield Digital Festival. So a big thanks to the team at Sheffield Digital and the organising team. So as Kerry mentioned, my name's Darren Balcombe. I'm Deputy CEO of Capital Enterprise. As an organisation, we dedicate our time to supporting the growth of tech startups. And we have a twin mission. First of all, we focus on enabling entrepreneurs to overcome the barriers that hinder their ambitions to start and scale a tech business. And the second, we act as a body to help the organizations that offer the specialist support to startups to enable them to operate and deliver that support to startups across the UK. And so just to set out the stall for context, we operate in areas where we can add the most value. And the Team SY project typifies our work in capacity building the UK's tech startup ecosystem. So South Yorkshire's tech sector has made really good progress in recent years with the likes of the physical assets such as Barnsley Digital Media Centre, Collider, support programmes from Sheffield Tech Parks, IoT Tribe, to name just a few, and not to mention the work led by the academic institutions such as University of Sheffield and Sheffield Hallam University. And we can also celebrate the successes from homegrown talent such as alumni who raised 1.2 million last week, accessing securing pre-seed funding rounds. However, the South Yorkshire startup ecosystem when compared to more active startup hubs. And so through Team SY, we aim to generate a critical mass of activities that can raise a lasting interest from both the businesses and investors, and to go some way to embed that culture of acceleration and investment in the region. And in doing so, we hope to create a coherent offer to entrepreneurs in the region and for those who are considering South Yorkshire as a destination for their startup. My colleagues Sam and Kerry will share more on this later. But that's why we're delighted to be working with Barnsley Council on the Team SY project. And so that's a nice segue to hand over to Tracy, who leads the work at the Barnsley Digital Media Centre, to share a little more.
Thank you, Darren. Very seamless introduction there. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to welcome you to this event, and it's brilliant to be part of Sheffield Digital Festival again. Second iteration online, and a huge well done to all the team for for pulling it off again. I'm delighted to say I'm actually at a physical event in a hotel outside of South Yorkshire, sadly, but it just goes to show I think things are coming back, and there'll be the opportunity to run these kind of events face to face in safe environments. So far so good here. This isn't the grandeur of my home, sadly, but it's a fantastic opportunity for us to talk about Team SY today. And just to give a little bit of context, at the DMC we are all about collaboration, all about supporting that collaboration within the businesses that we have at DMC, but also collaborating with people like Darren and the team at Capital Enterprise to bring really, really good stuff into the South Yorkshire tech ecosystem. There are some amazing assets in this region, and we're on the cusp of really, really big things. At DMC, we have companies doing fabulous things in cyber, in IoT, in fintech, and that's something really special to be celebrated. And across the whole Sheffield City region, there's some hugely exciting opportunities. The work that Twinkle Hive have done in terms of developing their own business, but really reaching out and supporting entrepreneurs of the future is to be hugely commended. And the ongoing work that Collider and Sheffield Tech Parks and lots of others do to create a real home for technology businesses in South Yorkshire is something really powerful. For Barnsley, it was really sort of, horrible phrase, but a no-brainer to get involved in a project like Team SY. We'd benefited ourselves from working collaboratively with our stakeholders over the years to develop out the idea of what DMC could be, this home for technology businesses and clever minds and brilliant ideas, and how we support that. And part of that work has been to get together with organisations like Capital Enterprise to get under the skin of what makes an ecosystem tick, and to think about the role that both the public sector and spaces and people and everything else plays in developing that ecosystem. So the original concept for Team SY was developed over a medieval meal in the middle of Tallinn in Estonia, where it's kind of, well, what if, could we run accelerator programs at regional level that really exploit the markets, the talent and the opportunities that are here? And seeing Team SY realised further down the line with lots of different iterations and concepts and challenges along the way is a real, source of huge pride for all of us, I think, that we can play a small part in helping to make Sheffield and the whole city region amazing, even more amazing than it already is. So enjoy today. I'm really looking forward to hearing from the startups and from the team, and look forward to seeing you hopefully soon in person.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Darren and Tracy. Lovely introductions there. I'm now going to hand over to Sam, who's going to take us through the format of the day. Thanks a lot, of the hour, I should say.
Oh, thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Darren. That's just a great context for team and a great introduction. And Tracy, I'm loving that you're at an actual physical event. It really does sort of tie into sort of what this is all about today, really, is, the challenges that have been for the last year, but the optimism for the future, and hopefully what is to come over the next few months. So really thank you to you guys. So next up, we're going to hear obviously from some of our regional startups. We've asked them to tell us a little bit about their journey so far, how they've been affected by the pandemic. So it's a little bit different from what you might be used to with pitch events. They're not really pitches, they're kind of stories of the journeys, and a bit of a showcase of what it is that they've been working from, and also what they've got in store for the next few months now that the country is hopefully opening up a little bit again. So then I'll be back somewhere in the middle of all the startups to chat to you a little bit about what it is that we mean when we talk about startup ecosystems. What is it exactly that we're talking about in that context? Then there'll be more startups, and then at the very end we'll be wrapping up with some new program news, what we've got coming up at Team SY that you might be able to get involved with and apply for. And then finally, there'll be a chance for you to stick around to connect with us in the lounge area and with the startups. Have a virtual coffee, finish off what's left of the buffet that we've put on for you guys. And that'll be about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from the startups. As Kerry said, any questions or chat, just pop them into the question box and we'll pick them up throughout. And I'll see you later.
Thanks so much, Sam. So now we're going to kick off with the first lot of startup talks, and they're the industry-facing talks from Robin Hartley of ForgeRaw Manufacturing Analytics and Nukez Ahmed from Twin Dynamics. So those the talks will run, and then we'll have some Q&A, and then go to our next two talks. Okay, thanks very much. Ben, over to you.
Hello there, my name is Robin Hartley. I'm the founder and CTO of ForgeRaw Manufacturing Analytics Limited. And smiling out from your computer next to me in this picture is Chris, who's my co-founder and CEO. Now, in the background behind us is a type of machine known as a CNC machine. Now, this is a broad type of manufacturing equipment that is used to make everything from Swiss watches to aircraft landing gear. And we're actually stood in this picture in the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre, which is a sort of overgrown department of the University of Sheffield dedicated to understanding machining equipment like a CNC machine. Now, I was there as a research engineer using software and data to try and improve the productivity of these machines. And Chris was the commercialization manager, so he was all about taking intellectual property generated at the research centre and getting that out into industry. Now, naturally in this topic, we got talking to each other, and we went out and we spoke to industry about what it was actually like to operate CNC machines in production. And they told us they had a key challenge: knowing what their machines were doing, how productive they were, and finding out what their utilization was. Now, it sounds almost trivial, but it's actually a really big problem. CNC machines can be programmed to do different things every day of the week, make different parts, use different tooling with different materials. And that means actually it's very difficult to keep track of production. It's very hard to schedule it and know how long things take, and therefore it's very hard to know how to price your work, and even if you're actually making profit. And key to this is understanding what your CNC machine is doing. And so naturally, with the monitoring software I was doing and the commercial knowledge Chris brought, we thought, well, let's make a business out of this. And that's where ForgeRaw Manufacturing Analytics came from. So we founded on the 8th of September, we left the university, and it was very much a bedroom business founded in the pandemic. You know, we were on Zoom calls like everyone else was at the time. And we actually, throughout the back end of 2020, secured funding. And one of the things we found about everyone being remote was that actually we could access investment which wouldn't normally be possible because of location. So one of our key investors actually is from London. So we managed to traverse sometimes sort of geographical constraints. And we found out on Christmas Eve that we secured all the funding we needed for the business throughout 2021, which is quite a nice Christmas present. We also had to really innovate our business model because COVID meant that we couldn't visit customers. So we thought we were going to charge them up front, go and visit them, shake their hand, install a load of equipment, and then drive back home. All of that became impossible. And so we needed something we could do remotely, where customers could dip their toe in without having to put a big capital investment in, and that we could deliver without having to do this sales process, which is the typical put your briefcase in the car and drive up and down the country. And so we scratched our heads for a bit. And then throughout 2021, since the beginning of the year, we've developed MachineLink. Now, this is a new device we're bringing to market. We've just launched this week, and it's a plug and play machine monitoring device. So we package this up and we send it out to our customers in the post. They self-install it on their CNC machines in just a couple of minutes. It then phones home, sends data up to our cloud platform, and we tell them exactly what their machines are doing every hour of the day on a cloud dashboard like you can see here. And we don't make too many. The devices themselves are very cheap, so it's only a couple £100 for the devices. But we actually charge a software subscription fee, so a typical sort of Netflix style model. Now, in terms of what our customers are thinking, we've had quite a lot of success with this. So Steve Corbett from Durham Duplex, a good hearty Sheffield manufacturer, they used our system on some of their grinding machines. They actually managed to have a 5-fold increase in the number of parts they could make without changing their production costs, just by understanding what their machines are doing and optimizing their processes, which was a fantastic result for us. And then at CBE Plus in Chesterfield, another good manufacturer, Lindsay, the production director there, spotted on our ForgeRaw dashboard that there are actually gaps in their production schedule. She then managed to slot new work into them, which allowed them to win new business and really please their customers with reduced delivery times. So that was another key win for us there. So that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of ForgeRaw, but if you'd like to find out more, you can visit the website, www.forgeraw.com, and you're welcome to get in touch with me with the contact details on the screen as well. Thanks for listening, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Dr. Nokhiz Ahmed. I am the managing director and co-founder of Twin Dynamics, which is Barnsley-based tech startup. We develop physics-based digital twins, which are virtual representation of actual assets. The virtual data helps in real-time monitor assets behavior and predicts failures in very great detail. We are an alumnus of IoT Tribe North Accelerator program. As a business, we are currently focusing on two major questions. Firstly, how does my building space impact my people? And how does my building space impact our environment? Twin Dynamics is providing the digital twin-based services to make indoor spaces safer, resilient to pandemic outbreak, and sustainable. Initially, we developed the digital twin tech for oil and gas and textile finishing machine manufacturing industries. But then COVID hit in March 2020 in UK, which was the biggest challenge. We adopted our digital twin tech to help businesses in managing their indoor workspaces. We received pitching grant, which we have used to adopt our technology towards occupant comfort. Thereafter, we won Innovate UK grant to augment this technology to predict the spread of aerosols in indoor building spaces. We also piloted our adoption in the Diamond Building, Sheffield University, and Sixth Form Building, Barnsley College. We are launching our digital twin-based services to make workspaces, dining areas, premium lounges, and corporate travel safer. We have our first early adopter and in the process of adopting our technology for making their building space smart. We have received immense amount of help, support from Barnsley City Council and Sheffield City Region. I'm very happy to answer any questions later in the event. I will be virtually available on one of the table to have some discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin and Nukez. And Robin and Nukez will join us now for a couple of questions.
Hi there.
Hi, Robin and Nukez. Thank you very much for your presentations. Brilliant. Quick questions for you, very short of time. Robin, it's very challenging to get manufacturers to look at new technology, especially digital. How have you persuaded them to dip their toe in the data water?
Very good question. It's a tricky one. I think the key is to make it not about the tech, is to make it about the value it brings to them. I think for a long time, manufacturers have been told that they need to do Industry 4 and they need digitalization, but they've not really known what that's meant for them. And so for us, the key thing we've done is we've made it so there's a free version of our software, so that basically instead of going, we'll tell you all the benefits and you'll believe us and spend lots of money with us, we'll go, you know what? You don't have to believe us. All you need to do is, for us, 180 quid, you get one of our devices, you put it on the machine, and actually you can see with your data a full demonstration of what you can get. And if you don't experience value, then you can walk away, no questions asked. But if you do, which we hope they do, then they can then upgrade to a full subscription of our software. So I think the thing is, let them see it for themselves and put your money where your mouth is.
Fabulous. So the proof is in the pudding, as it were.
Exactly.
With a bit of data sprinkled on top. Lovely. Thank you. And we do have a question which I'll look at shortly. But Nukez, in the meantime, what difference has Innovate UK funding made to your business?
That's a really good one, actually. First, we had developed a technology by utilizing some sort of a grant, and basically, obviously, for startups, it's really difficult to actually start with something. Innovate UK has helped us a lot with regards to development of the technology. Presently, COVID is a major problem, and airborne transmission is very difficult to handle. And we have developed a technology utilizing UK's money to solve that problem, to solve the problem of airborne transmission. How could we find what are the contaminated surfaces, contaminated zones across the building spaces? And what I would say is, if well, we have the technology, we have the capability to do, but if resources are not being provided, it's really difficult to do those things. And yes, Innovate UK has majorly helped to grow, to kind of not only develop the tech, but obviously going towards the commercialization as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nikes. Question here. Great presentation, Robin. Thank you. Just wondered what the maturity of the software was at the time of fundraising. Did you have a prototype, MVP, or version 1, for example? Also, did you have any paying customers at the point of fundraising?
Yeah, great question. Very comprehensive. I'd say we were V1, so it was all programmed by me. We didn't have a software team; it was just myself. It started out as research software within the university, and then we spun it out. I sort of reprogrammed it all in my bedroom in sort of weekends and evenings and things like that. And we did have one paying customer at the time, so I'd say it was slightly beyond MVP, but it was very much a consultative sell. We were doing a lot of extra work on top, and also the way we delivered it is it was what I was describing in the presentation. Having to go and do a lot of work on site, maybe weeks of work on site to get them hooked up. So the main innovation we've done now is we've actually not changed the data we displayed too much, because even from the MVP and this V1, because people really liked it, it's all about how can we get it in front of them in the quickest, easiest, cheapest, most digestible way we can, which is where the machine link device, which we can send in the post, has come from.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry we are so short of time, but we're going to move on to our security presentations now, Nikes and Robin. But if you see any questions, please feel free to address them in the chat and also afterwards on the AirMeet tables. Thanks so much. I'll just move on to introducing our next talks. And they come from Melanie Oldham from Bob's Business, and Yuri, I won't try and say that, from Yuri, Alarm on it. Yuri can pronounce his surname for us. Okay, thanks so much, Ben. We'll have those.
Hi, my name is Melanie Oldham. I'm CEO and founder of Bob's Business. Bob's Business is a cyber ed tech company based in Barnsley that concentrates on the human side of cybersecurity. More often than not, cybersecurity is perceived to be a real technical problem in need of a technical solution, when in fact the reality is most information security breaches are down to human behaviour and human error. At Bob's Business, we've worked with organisations both nationally and internationally across all industry sectors and all sizes in order to empower end users and positively influence their information security behaviours. We've done this through creating campaigns, using storytelling and animation, and delivering content that people can really relate to. Our greatest successes over the years have been developing anti-phishing campaigns specifically for HMRC and a number of government departments, and also creating content available now in 14 languages. More recently, we have launched an e-store, a 100% SaaS-based solution targeted at the micro and the SME market. At Bob's Business, our vision matches the national vision, which is for the UK to be the safest place to live and work online. Our business growth to date has been pretty organic, and we've taken on some incredible apprentices that really are the heart of the organisation, but more recently taken on some real strategic hires to help us pivot and also take the next stage of our growth, which is international expansion and to develop a 100% SaaS-based automated solution. As well as the development of the e-store, another product we've got going to market later this year is in direct response to some of the threats that have been identified and the increase of cybersecurity threats based on the new distributed workforce and the home working environment. With our partners, we're creating some really immersified, gamified learning, specifically on targeting and working on teams to be able to work together in order to problem solve and find solutions to some of the most common cybersecurity threats that are based on the home working environment. So these are cybersecurity escape rooms with a bit of a twist, and really looking forward to the launch of those later this year. Our next stage of the development is probably to look at investment in order to be able to expand and grow with the team that we have. And I think my colleague Neil Frost is here to answer any questions that you now have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jurek Nezer, and I'm a CEO and a founder of a Sheffield tech startup called Alarm Money. Alarm Money is a subscription-based CCTV cloud monitoring service which provides an app where people can link their security cameras to an intelligent network which is connected to community and security service providers. We make it very easy for our CCTV users to proactively respond to threats and get help when they really need it. The idea for Alarm Money was born when I identified the need for a surveillance system that can turn legacy dome cameras into proactive and accurate detection system, while also improving the privacy and improving cybersecurity for its users. In 2019, while in full-time employment, I've developed a proof of concept solution which rapidly gained interest. From that point, I knew the idea had the potential to grow bigger, and I needed more people with the right skills to execute it. So our founding team grew. Last year, in the middle of the pandemic, I fully committed myself to Alarm Money by making the jump and leaving my full-time job so that I can focus on growing the company. Since then, we have released several versions of our app, and by working close with our app users and our clients, we have pivoted our solution and increased our value proposition. We are now gaining traction and paying customers in the UK, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, to name a few. Like most, our business journey has its challenges. To get off the ground, we had to source resources. That includes money, skills, and advisors. Then once we had that, we had to release our first version of the app and establish a product market fit. And it took a couple of pivot points to achieve this. Launching a startup in the middle of a global pandemic is no easy task in itself. Our team had to learn how to effectively collaborate remotely. Being a tech company did help somewhat. However, I believe that trust and good communication are a key factor in our early successes. Nevertheless, the lockdown restrictions did help us somewhat. They helped us increase some traction because Alarm Money is very easy to set up, and for most part, it doesn't require additional hardware or professional services, so our users could supercharge their CCTV with just a few clicks. At Alarm Money, we are passionate about democratizing smart security solutions, making them accessible for everyone, and improving safety for our communities. The security industry is exploding, especially with the recent development in Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. And with the level of talent available locally in our region, I truly hope that we will see a lot more startups. I hope you enjoyed this short video and be on it with Alarm Money.
Thank you to our speakers. I think Ben will bring them up now. So we have Neil Frost. Thank you, Neil, for stepping in for Mel. She's actually going into a skydiving competition today, would you believe? So I think I'd much rather have my feet on the ground here. Thanks, Yuri. Yuri, could you please pronounce your surname for us?
It's Kniaziev.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I just saw it there and I thought it was better for you to tell us. Thank you. Right, and Neil, over to you. We've actually got a question in the chat. And what it is I know that Bob's Business is really transitioning from a startup into a scale up. And Dominic O'Connor, one of our innovation advisors in the region, has asked, what support programs would you like to see in the city region to help emerging businesses grow? And so I'd particularly ask you that in relation to scale up, is what kind of support would it be useful to have from the region as you go through this transition?
Yeah, I think, and Melanie's particularly in discussions around the cyber escape rooms and other areas of identifying risk in relation to human-related behaviour. But you know, the ability to have some funding for commercial entities to possibly trial some of the products and services that we offer, to see that, you know, we provide services that can actually quantify human-related risk. So we've finally been able to use behavioural science and psychology to do that, to be able to track for organisations' progress. So the ability to offer trial periods, some funding around that would be absolutely fantastic, so that we can proof point into organisations finally the human-related part of cybersecurity, because it's very easy with technology and processes and policies to track, whereas human-related behaviour has been very, very difficult for organisations.
Yeah.
So some funding around that would be great.
Yeah, that is fascinating, actually, and I think for a lot of businesses in the region, that kind of test bed facility would be really useful across a whole range of sectors. So that's a brilliant answer, thank you. And Yuri, over to you. Fabulous talk, thank you so much, and huge progress with business. I think what's really interesting to me is a lot of your these early stages of your journey have been supported by an existing company in the region, and I just wonder if you could share some learnings about that, because it could be really useful for other more established businesses to help the startup ecosystem. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. We started off just like if we want to call it a bedroom. So it was literally my basic level of coding, did a proof of concept, but then at that point, well, once we've got a bit of a traction with some of the projects, then we're at a point like, okay, we need to grow. So we had to develop a strategic partnership, and it so to happened I had some connections with a company in Sheffield who's actually a software house, and being a software as a service solution, cloud-based, mainly software, it was a great partnership because they could dedicate the resources. They were actually got invested into the product, into the company as well, because they saw the potential in it, and just a general advice. It was sort of like a mentoring advice as well, which helped us a lot. So, I think these kind of strategic partnerships are crucial to some startups initially, because it just gives that a bit of a platform to launch a little bit faster and start getting some traction or validating the product. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And we've got someone saying they love Alarm On It as a brand for your idea. Brilliant. Just one more question then from Laura, director of a UNUS events company, and she's talking about skills, and I know that's very important for growing tech businesses and particularly around cyber. So Neil, to you, I know with Bob's Business, they're very supportive of kind of cyber skills training, and even starting at an early stage in schools and college. Is there anything you can just give us a little bit more detail on that? Oh, just on mute, Neil, just on mute.
I thought I'd throw that in as the classic faux pas that everybody gets.
Oh yeah, no, we need one of those.
So as a business, we tend to get a lot of apprentices in, and we've got people that have been with us sort of 5, 6, 7 years who have progressed. But yeah, we work with academia in a big way to develop programs, and then currently in the Often we are looking at developing a level 3 apprenticeship program around cybersecurity, and make that completely online for people, so that obviously we can get more traction outside of the universities and colleges to be able to do things online.
That is superb. Thank you. And Yuri, the same question to you. How are you finding it in terms of, are you starting to hire or needing to hire, and how is that talent stream, and are you aware of needing more skilled people for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. As we're scaling up, we need more people with like artificial intelligence or machine learning experience, because that's kind of our main focus as well. So, I mean, in terms of the business operations and other things, we've got resources, shared resources, like from our strategic partners as well. But actually delivering and developing the product, yeah, we find that we our load is growing, and we need more people who can efficiently execute our tasks as well. So we reaching out to local universities and through our contacts and networking to try and find some local resources that can join our team.
Super, thank you both. Thanks so much. And we're going to move on now to Samantha's talk, introducing us to the concept of startup ecosystems and some of the activity that Team SY has started. So thanks, Neil and Yuri, really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, me again. You might remember me from half an hour ago in the introduction talks. I'm just going to share my screen with you, see if we can get me presenting. Let's see. Ta-da. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen now. Excellent. Alrighty. So I'm Samantha Deakin. I'm one of the regional leads for Team SY. And so Kerry and I have had a lot of virtual coffees over the last few months with all kinds of players in the tech and startup world across South Yorkshire. And when introducing Team and how we can make an impact through this project, and then oftentimes today as well, and just sort of in general conversation with people, we often talk about an ecosystem approach. And you may have come across the idea of startup ecosystems, tech ecosystems, innovation ecosystems. But today I want to cover a little bit about what we mean when we talk about ecosystems, and why are ecosystems important to the startup community. So I guess people mean maybe slightly different things when they talk about ecosystems. But when I think of an ecosystem, I kind of base it on the analogy of a biological ecosystem, which is made up of sort of a mix of living beings and the physical elements of their environment. This is kind of what we mean by ecosystem as a general term. And ideally, a thriving ecosystem will feature all of the physical elements and all of those sort of environmental elements that are needed really to create the perfect conditions for life. And so in this context, we can talk about plant ecosystems, we can talk about wildlife ecosystems, but also man-made ones, such as startup or tech ecosystems. And startups are very much the same in that, they also need certain elements within their environment in order for the startup community to survive and hopefully thrive as well. So that's what we're really talking about when we talk about startup ecosystems. What are the elements and conditions required for startups to thrive? And how do we create them? Essentially, how do we achieve these goals for a thriving startup ecosystem? The goals being, how do we attract and retain startups and companies? And what are the things that startups and companies need to thrive? And some of those have been touched on in our talks so far today. We've had talent mentioned, the need for access to talent. We've had funding mentioned, to help launch products, prototype products, but also to scale and grow and allow companies to hire. How do we build programs and resources to promote entrepreneurial momentum and mindset throughout the ecosystem, making sure that we're supporting the entire entrepreneurial stack from having ideas and supporting entrepreneurs to have ideas and to work on them to make those ideas happen, right the way through to raising investment, to growing, becoming sustainable, or potentially exiting the company. And then I think probably most importantly for me, like, how do we create opportunities to make sure that all of these elements of the ecosystem are connected? You know, how do we not only make sure that these elements exist, but how do we make sure that they're interacting with each other? An ecosystem is really only as strong as, you know, the parts within it, but also the information that flows between those parts, both the number of interactions and points of communication, but also the quality of those interactions. And then also, you know, another goal being to market the region as a startup-friendly location, which is much easier to do if it is a startup-friendly location, of course. And I think what it boils down to really is to what startups need. And like I said, some of these things have already been touched on by some of the startups we've heard so far today, and I'm sure will be in the two that we have following. But essentially, how can companies access the talent? Is there the talent available in the region that's accessible for startups to grow their teams? You know, not just at the beginning, not just access to, you know, early talent, but then also is there C-level staff available, you know, further down the line? Startup culture is incredibly important. Do we have a culture in South Yorkshire that encourages entrepreneurship and having ideas and doing something about them? You know, things like, are there co-working and workspaces where you can bump into other entrepreneurs, where you can get that peer support? Are there events? Are there meetups? Are there hackathons? You know, does it feel, is there a feel in the community that this is a great place to start a company? Access to customers, market access, you know, what are the assets in the region that can connect the companies that start here with the networks they need to make sales and to access customers. So important. We've heard from, you know, a couple of cybersecurity businesses today and a manufacturing startup as well, and you just think, you know, the fact that South Yorkshire has you know, the AMRC and the access to networks through that, and we heard Nukez talk about you know, him being an alumnus of IoT Tribe and the market access that some of these programs can bring to the ecosystem as well. That is just, it's so important to startups because you know, not having enough customers is essentially what can make or break an early stage company or any company. Government plays a role in the ecosystem. I know if you've done research into startup ecosystems before, a lot of the research is very US based, where I think the kind of typical view is the government should kind of get out of the way and leave entrepreneurs to do their thing. But actually, the right policies and the right approach from local and central government can really have a massive impact on the success of entrepreneurs, whether they feel as though they have unequivocal support from their local council, from, you know, local authorities and from central government. Finance mentioned a couple of times. Innovate UK, mentioned by Nukez there, as, you know, been really useful for them for sort of prototyping and testing their product. You know, we're talking about everything here, from grants like Innovate UK through to debt, you know, like the Startup Loans Programme, and also equity finance. So, you know, is there a strong angel community? Are there accessible venture capital investors in the region? Finance is such an important part of the startup ecosystem. You know, that actually a lot of startups, when we're talking about attracting and retaining startups, startups may feel if there's not enough finance in the region that they have to go somewhere else in order to raise the capital they need to make their business successful. So it's such an important part. And then business support, which actually, you know, we've heard a little bit about again today, and I'll talk about a little bit more in a second. But, you know, companies it can be a very isolating space. And also when we're talking about sort of new entrepreneurs and new startups, a lot of people haven't done this before. And so the support of mentors, advisors, champions, and ideally, other experienced entrepreneurs who have been there and done that and can give back to the startup community through mentoring advice is such a really important part of it. And also the programs, such as IoT Tribe, such as Twinkle Hive that Tracy mentioned earlier, play such a huge role in the business support part of the ecosystem. And I guess just to say that all of these things, when all of these things are present within an ecosystem and they're all connected to one another, which is sort of a critical thing really, that the entrepreneurial ecosystem can start to support itself to a certain extent, and the ecosystem can support the life of the startup community. So I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of what that looks like in South Yorkshire. Essentially, what does the startup ecosystem look like in South Yorkshire? And you can see from from this visual that there are a lot of people involved in the South Yorkshire startup ecosystem. You've got your council and your policies at the bottom. You've got your programs and your business support in the top right there, and that's covering. We've got to pick out a few. You've got the Launchpad program that is sort of generic early stage business advice that is available across Sheffield, Barnsley, Rotherham and Doncaster. You've got the IoT Tribe, which is an accelerator program. You've got Twinkle Hive that has really started as a really successful edtech company in Twinkle and has spun out a support program out of that, and is now building on lots and lots of pipeline support for very early stage startups in edtech and social impact, and is having a huge impact on the startup community. And then obviously you've got your workspaces, and in the middle there, exactly where they should be in the centre, is our notable sort of startups and scale-ups in the ecosystem. And I think I wanted to put this together not just to show what is available, but also to show how challenging this can be actually in terms of how complex this is. There's so many programs, there's so much stuff going on to a certain extent, that sometimes the real challenge is for entrepreneurs is to navigate their way through this web. And this is when we come back to sort of the connections between these dots, like how can we help you connect? And I guess Team SY's role in this is to have a look at what's already available, have a look at the potential ways that entrepreneurs could journey through all of these services, figure out through that, what is missing from this environment, what's missing from this ecosystem that we might be able to bring to the region in terms of programs, but then also how can we support startups directly in their journey. So we're doing this a couple of ways. One is that, generally, three ways I would say. We're having conversations with everybody and trying to make sure in a very organic way that everyone knows what everybody else is doing in the ecosystem, which is no small task. We also have a funding element to Team SY, and all of our funding is for programs, and so that's where we're sort of identifying gaps in the ecosystem. We're looking at, okay, well, how can we part fund the operational costs of new programs, but also existing programs to either increase their capacity or come and land in the region and provide that support in the region for startups. And the third way that we're helping is basically to have a fairly open door policy for startups in the region, to say to you, look, we have a really good understanding now of the ecosystem, of all the support that's out there, and we're here to help you. So, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh my word, I don't even know where to start for my stage of business or the type of business that I'm in. What I would say is to invite you to reach out to us, to get in touch with myself and Kerry, and hopefully we can help guide you, be your tour guides through the Sheffield Startup ecosystem. So I hope you know a little bit more about what we mean when we talk about ecosystems. I'm going to hand back over to Kerry now, and look forward to the rest of the presentations, and hopefully catch up with some of you in the networking later. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Sam. Fabulous overview there. Excellent. And it's reminded me that I forgot to tell everyone that there's this reactions button at the bottom with a little smiley face. And so we can say, brilliant, thank you so much. So yeah, we should have been doing that for all of the startups. So apologies, I'll remember for next time. So we're going to move on now to our final two presentations. And they are more sort of B2C in a way, more consumer facing or more people facing. And they include Parent List, and that's with Chloe Lowe presenting, and NataHub with Manjeet Sareen. And I should add actually that we're probably running over about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you are able to stay with us, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Right, and Ben will bring up the next presentation.
Hi, I'm Chloe Lowe. I'm a strategy director and former head of digital at an agency in Sheffield. I'm also the founder of the Parent List app. So in 2018, I set out to build an app with the single aim to help manage the mental load of parenting. As a busy mum of a then 5-year-old with another baby on the way, I know only too well the juggle that comes with pursuing your own passions and a career whilst balancing that with the mental load and that invisible load of parenting. So the app itself contains nearly 200 checklists and videos around lots of different topics, from what to pack when you're going away, to food ideas for fussy eaters, or play activity ideas for rainy days. The content in the app has been designed to be short, bite-sized content that's easy to absorb, easy to understand, particularly if you are a sleep-deprived or stressed-out parent. There's also some premium content and functionality too, including short movement videos, 5, 10 and 15 minutes, some short breathing exercises if you want to feel calm or feel energized, and some meditations too if you want that extra bit of calm. I know all too well the additional pressures that being a parent can add to our mental health. So I have a long history with mental health issues. Having suffered with depression and anxiety for over 20 years, it is a part of who I am. I was susceptible to prenatal and postnatal depression, and experienced the real highs and the lows that you do experience during pregnancy and certainly beyond. So my own experiences with mental health certainly drive my ambition with this project and underpin the purpose to help all parents maintain that positive sense of well-being, whether they suffer with mental health concerns or not. So during COVID, when the world slowed down, I was on maternity leave, I finally saved up enough money to develop the app, and so it began. So we are currently in development. We're due to beta test in the next couple of months with a launch date planned for the middle to end of 2021. So it's a really exciting time for Parent List. And the environment that it'll launch in as well, we are entering a post-COVID baby boom. We're also entering a mental health crisis because of the effects of the pandemic. So I really do hope that the Parent List app will become a really important, essential addition to every parent's toolkit when it comes to managing their mental well-being and taking that time they deserve for self.
Hi, my name is Manjeet and I'm the CEO and co-founder of NataHub. Just wanted to spend a few minutes and just share a little bit about who we are and our journey over the last year. NatterHub is a gated educational social media platform exclusively for primary schools, so for children 5 to 11 years old. Our sandbox environment looks and feels like social media, but it's gated to the classroom, and it's been designed to work in the learning style that most children prefer through structured play. Children learn by doing, and that's why we've created this platform. The focus of our business is education. NatterHub is the education before children venture unaided onto the internet. Our journey throughout the last year, before that, we raised a mixture of cash and investment from Twinkle Educational Publishing, and we were the first company to join Twinkle Hive in 2019. Really, truly grateful for all of their support. We've learned so much from them, and we wouldn't have been in this position if it wasn't for them. So really grateful for everything that they've done for us. So we actually launched our platform a year ago during the first lockdown. Currently, we've got over 4,000 plus schools across 60 plus countries who are using NatterHub for their online safety and digital literacy provision. We had to actually adapt very quickly in the first lockdown. We had so many bugs, but we just wanted to get our product out there so that we could help as many children connect in a safe place rather than going off to game or going off to other platforms to connect with their friends. So we just wanted to provide that social connection. As soon as the first lockdown hit, we were out there pretty much immediately. Other things in lockdown, we recruited our team remotely. Can't wait to meet everybody face to face when we do get back to the Sheffield office. But we've worked really hard remotely. It's worked really well for us. And when we move forward and we're back out into the office, we'll have more of a hybrid approach, remotely and office based. I just think when people are on a mission and are passionate about what they do, they can work from anywhere. But we do want that social connection, whether that's a social or catching up every couple of weeks where we do meet up face to face and have those brainstorming sessions and planning as to what we do next. Really, on my end, anyone out there who's watching who is interested in our mission of preparing young children to thrive online, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you if you're interested in working with us, collaborating with us, or whether you want to just pick our brains for other ventures that you're doing. We're here for you. I think we all entrepreneurs need to help each other. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think Chloe and Manjit will join us on the stage. Thank you. Chloe, welcome. Manjit, welcome. Thanks so much for your talks. They're very heartfelt and I think probably struck a chord with many people. So thank you so much. So some questions. Manjit, I was fascinated to hear about your very fast progress. Wanted to know, how did you really achieve this geographic reach so quickly and during a pandemic? What were the key aspects?
I think firstly it was a product that was definitely needed. I think obviously when the pandemic hit, children needed to connect safely, and we had the product. We were doing it. We had that ready. For us to get the reach it's really been because of Twinkle and their market reach. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been very different if we weren't with them when we did it alone. But by having our product that was nearly ready and their marketing and their channel, they're in so many schools. It was amazing to use that on social channels, connecting with the schools that are obviously already on board, Twinkle customers, and sharing our product. So I think really it's down to, I have to give them credit for that. For us, we worked hard on the product, and like I said, it was really difficult because it wasn't even ready, but it was like, okay, forget perfectionism, just get it out there. And it was needed because children were just jumping on, their tech, to talk to their friends. Adults were dealing with their own things. So we just wanted children to just, have that social interaction. So, we had sign-ups right from day one.
It's really superb, and I think it really demonstrates the going with your MVP and seeing what happens, and actually supporting that approach that a lot of tech advisors say is the best way to get that input quickly. And also really interesting, like Yuri has had support from an existing organisation in the region, how Twinkle and Twinkle Hive have been able to support you. I think that's a really good lesson for us regionally. Brilliant. I'll move to Chloe now. So Chloe, you've had to actually kind of be saving your own money and making things happen for yourself, which is pretty challenging, and you haven't had that support yet. What difference would kind of startup funding and some dedicated kind of money, what difference would that have made to you?
It's an interesting one, because what started off as a passion project, it feels still like it is a bit of a passion project with a lot of potential. Had I been in a situation where I had startup funding, then it's likely that I would have left my job. So I'm currently juggling the two at the moment. I work 4 days a week as a strategy director. And, I think it would have been the business of a situation of, do I bootstrap it, go it alone and get the MVP, or do I focus on it from day dot as a fully fledged startup business, which is quite terrifying, actually.
Yes, absolutely. So my last question, because we've got very, very limited time, and it's, as women entrepreneurs, I don't know if you've noticed kind of any differences in the way you've been treated, but is there anything that you would choose to help you on your entrepreneurship journeys? Is there anything that's not been there that you think actually that would have been brilliant as a female entrepreneur? Either one of you to start.
I would say a babysitter for my kids. Because I think in the pandemic, for me, I mean, it's great. I had we're doing what we're doing, but having 2 young boys as well, and juggling everything at the same time. But I think in terms of being treated differently, I mean, I don't think that.
I think one of the things that's really helped me is building that network of other very strong females, whether they're entrepreneurs or actually quite established within different roles, and that's been a really good support network for me over the last 12 months. And some really nice contacts and support there too.
I think women are fierce. The last year, there's just so many women entrepreneurs that are doing great things and passionate about what they're doing. It's been amazing. So
absolutely. And I think there is a risk with the pandemic that in some ways things have gone backwards. So I think we all need to be on our guard to make sure that doesn't happen, and to be supportive of each other, to really help women start their own businesses and be great successes. Okay, thank you so much both. And I'm going to bring Samantha back on stage for our final wrap up. Thanks so much, Chloe and Manjit. Thank you. Sam, hi, welcome back. So we're just 4 minutes past 1, so we're going to do a very quick wrap up, saying what's coming from team. Sam, I think I found those talks really inspiring. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's really good to hear such positive stories during what's been such a really difficult time for everyone. And I think particularly hearing about how in some cases what's been such a huge challenge has also become an opportunity where, the founders are fairly resilient, or where they see sort of new problems that can be solved with, the solution they already have, just by pivoting slightly. I think it's great. I think your points, Kerry, about picking out parts of the support that Twinkle has given to NatHub, and then Alarm on it with Razor. These sort of stories, these good news stories of how the ecosystem is kind of showing signs of working, that there's some really good ingredients here, that we've got something really good to work with. So I think it's great, yeah. And hopefully with the some of the programs that we have planned coming up as well, we can support that even further. Do you want to start with what we have coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Team, we have some programs bubbling under that we're getting ready to launch. One of those actually addresses one of Yuri's points around the need for AI skills, and it's an artificial intelligence academy. And it's going to be approximately an 8-week program where people join for a couple of hours a week. And we're going to cover all sorts of aspects around using AI in your business technically and strategically. So look out for that. It's being shaped at the moment, and we'll launch fairly soon. Sam, over to you for the other program.
Okay, one of the other things that we have in the pipeline, so we have a bunch of sort of accelerator programs that we're talking to as well, which we will announce in the coming weeks. But we're also working on an investment readiness program. So Capital Enterprise has really strong background in this. It's been delivering the investment readiness programs for Barclays Eagle Labs nationally for quite a while. And so we're putting together or we have put together a curriculum over, I think, a 4-week period that aims to tackle sort of the education gap around particularly equity finance. So this will be really useful for any startups who are considering raising in the next sort of 6 months or so. We'll explain sort of angels, venture capital, how that all works. And not just pitching, but how to make your business essentially an investable business, not just to appear investable, in a pitch deck. So those programs, both of those, hopefully be launching around the early summertime. And so really, what we would say is stick around and talk to us in the networking if you're interested in learning a little bit more about anything that we've talked about today. But we'll also put a link to a form in the chat. So if you want to find out when these are up, when these programs launch, any other updates that we have from the startup ecosystem, sign up through that form. It'll add you to our list, and we'll keep in touch. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, lovely, Sam. Thanks a lot. So thanks again, yes, to all our wonderful speakers, and to you, the our attendees, for joining us. And now, if everybody wants to stay, or it's totally optional, but we are going to move on to the AirMeet tables in the lounge, where we can catch up with people and ask any further questions to the startups. It's going to be quite relaxed, so if you see someone on a table, come and join us and have a chat. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. All the best.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.